All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Ben Chiriboga, the Chief Growth Officer here at Nexel, coming to you with another This Legal Life. If this is the first time you're checking us out, This Legal Life is the opportunity that I have to sit down with friends, colleagues, just people around the legal industry, get them to talk about what they're thinking and even more, their life in legal. Today, I'm very, very excited to be speaking with an old friend of the podcast and an old friend of Nexel, Mr. Ben Paul. Ben, how are you? What's going on? And welcome back to the podcast.
Great. And look, it's lovely to be here. I believe I was actually the first guest on your podcast a couple of years ago now, which is great. Great to see the podcast still going strong.
Thank you.
Look, things are going well here in New Zealand, in this part of the world. In Australia, lots of demand from law firms, lots of interest in business development. And as we were talking about today, like AI and how they can use that in business development and marketing, is it really going to help them out? Or is it just one of those tech things that will blow up and then disappear? So it'd be good to kind of unpack that and see how it works today.
I love it. So we're going to get into what you're seeing, not only in the New Zealand market, but even more generally in the global market. And I think it's interesting because you recently put out, let's go back maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months. God, the world's going fast and time's going even faster. But you put out a recent white paper that I was thankful that you asked me to participate in, all around business development, around relationships, et cetera. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, well, first, just for anybody who didn't download it, what was the Trump, the thing behind it that was that was putting that out, and then more importantly, what's been the knock-on effect of all of that, the questions that you've been getting. Go ahead, take it from there.
So look, every year, as you know, at the BD Ladder, we love to give something back to the industry, and we always create an ebook where we go out to experts from around the world because we have a global audience. This particular one was really obvious. It was like, what would be the effect of AI in marketing, business development, and building client relationships in the future? So we asked, I think we've got 8 different articles in there, including yours, which you did with Lynn, and quite a lot of people coming from with very different angles and different perspectives on what that would be.
Yes, right.
The take up of that, look, we knew it would be quite good because it's capturing the zeitgeist and what everyone's interested in at the moment, but the take up's been really, really good, and it's been from all around the world. So lots of people have downloaded that, lots of interest in what's going on. People are now using it, follow-up questions, trying to find out which bits apply to them, how much they can use, what they're going to spend their money on, what they're going to use that's free, how do they capture things like ChatGPT, is it really worth using, all that kind of stuff, elements of privacy. There's been a real interest in it and a drive forward on that, and that's leading us forward into the conversation today. And there'll be more stuff coming from us, which we'll talk about at the end of the podcast, but really, really fascinating. And that book's still there for download, and it's still getting lots of downloads every week. If you haven't downloaded it, I recommend you do, just because it's so good to have industry experts. And we've got consultants, we've got people who provide software services. We've also got people who actually work within in the businesses themselves as well. So it's really important every time we do that with our ebooks. And I think that's about the 5th or 6th. So if you go there again on the website, you'll be able to find them all. They're all on different topics, but we always try and get that perspective. So it's a bit of outside looking in and inside looking out. So it's really useful to those in the industry, and they can really take something powerful from it.
Yes, I agree. To your point, it was really interesting to see how many different perspectives came out of it. It's in some sense, it really ran the gambit from, well, we'll see, time will tell, all the way to, it's the coolest thing since sliced bread, and, thinking everything through. Let me ask you just really quickly, what's your personal opinion before we jump into some of this? Where are you right now, considering you're thinking about this? Has your opinion swayed? Are you sort of steadfast? Have you changed your opinion on anything? How are you seeing things right now?
I think my opinion is accelerated about how powerful it is and how it's an enabler. So there's a bit of me that's a traditional sales guy because of my background and what we do here at the BD Ladder and business development. And it will enable client conversations. It will make client conversations, interaction more powerful. It doesn't have emotion. It won't have those levers. It won't take over all communication.
Yeah.
If someone solely talks to you in AI, you start to think they're either trying to scam you,
Sure.
or you're not going to interact. You're not going to interact with it. It just doesn't have that level of realness.
Yeah.
And as we know, everyone's looking for genuine, authentic content and genuine, authentic conversations. But as an enabler and as a way to speed up your process and businesses, and look, I'm a small business myself. I use it. It's really powerful. It enables me to do stuff and have an outreach I wouldn't be able to have previously, and still see my kids. So you have that choice. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a nice setup to what we're talking about today. And specifically, I think we're going to weed through and get your perspective on client relationships particularly, and client development particularly, and the cornerstone of relationships. So, I mean, before we start, client relationships are still absolutely key. In some sense, AI is making authentic relationships even more important, and the legal industry is only getting more competitive. So you have all of these things together, these things coming together. Let's talk about where you see AI slotting in specifically within the context of that, and we can kick off from there.
Yeah, look, I think that competition is going to be huge, and if you're not using AI, someone else is using AI. They will use it in delivery, and that will change the pricing model. And we're not here to talk about that one today, but it will change the pricing model, because if it's producing basic contracts, which then your senior people are reviewing, it's going to be different. The hourly model might not quite work for some of the basic stuff, but people will really want more of the stuff that counts. The conversations, the advocating for your client, the being able to actually go beyond what's written by just a pure contract, and having those conversations and interacting, and the art of negotiation, all those things that top lawyers do really, really well in every jurisdiction. That will always be there. But then when it comes down to the next one, how do you compete? How do you differentiate yourself? Yeah. Everyone's obviously now understood that actually digital and content marketing is huge. Having a good presence, having a good brand, having a good authority, having a personal brand for your people, that takes time. Yeah. AI can speed that up. So again, we go back to the enabler thing. So how do you use it? How do you use it to help you create stuff fast, but not look the same as a person in the office next door, or the corridor next door, or as it is in most jurisdictions in the same building, just on a different floor? How do you differentiate from that law firm? How do you get it so your clients really understand? Because anyone can type something into AI and come out with an article or a post. So what? Probably doesn't go anywhere, probably doesn't resonate. So there's a real art to adapting and learning and using this stuff. But first of all, recognizing that it is really good. Yeah. That it can help you.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of pushback just on this initial point about the enablement and sort of like where does it slot in? Or are most people bought in on the idea that it is enabler? And what they're not seeing is how do they mix art with science? Because let me just set this up a little bit, you know, because I think if you use it a little bit, you very quickly find that it will produce ideas, content, and it will get you somewhere 80% of the way. What you are then prompted with, that's a pun, it's prompting you back with the idea of, okay, but how do you add a human element to there? And I think that this is where this crosses then, because you have to say, wait, but is this interesting? I know that there's something here, but is this personalized? Is it authentic? Is it interesting? And this is where I think the rubber meets the road, honestly, with many, many people. Anybody can prompt, anybody can put things in. Some people are better or worse at prompting, and then some people get crazy on it, where I think it's kind of asking an existential question of people, which is, okay, but what's interesting about this? You know, do you get what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah. And look, and I think there's a couple of examples we'll come to real life on in a minute, but I think the thing to get in people's head is we're not talking about a ghostwriter for your biography here. We're not talking about that level of sophistication where it's interviewing, getting into your thoughts, and then can produce something that is better than you could write yourself. Because the process of ghostwriting for I'm assuming if Donald Trump has a autobiography, it'll be ghostwritten, right?
Right.
That kind of process would be really, really cool. It's really, really takes a long time. And that person's almost, you see these people with, Obama, whoever they're with the main people, they're actually getting into their skin and writing it. That takes ages to have that level of that.
Right.
And it's always been a thing where, particularly in law firms, when they've used copywriters and external content marketers, it didn't come back 100%. Didn't come back 100%. And the argument actually is it probably never should. Which, hang on, I'm paying for this. Why have I not got the 100% answer? When I give someone a contract, it's 100% right.
Sure.
Totally get that. Totally get that. What you're doing now is saying, actually, we're taking that 60 to 80% draft. We're creating a bit of marketing material here that's really, really good. What it doesn't have is my magic. What makes me interesting, what makes me unique. What I hopefully, and if we're using something like ChatGPT, what you haven't put is any client material in there yet, because then you're spitting it out to the web and everyone else can research it. So that privacy element's really important. But it will come out and it won't have your tone. It won't have that element. It won't sound like you. But rather than spending 4 hours writing a bit of content marketing, now you're into an hour, and then you can refine it and you can put in the stuff that makes it important, all the stuff you're going to put out in the world, all those little stories, all your little analogies, all those things that it won't know because it's probably not going to quote ancient Greek if that's your thing.
Sure,
it's not going to quote that as that kind of example. And then when you're finished, I'm sure you write really, really well, but you can put it back through and get it proofread and grammatically thing, and it's good to go. Yeah. So it's that understanding of where it is. Do people have pushback? Absolutely. And look, we've even seen it in training room. We've run how to do personal branding and use ChatGPT to do your personal branding. LinkedIn. We had a very senior partner in the room, didn't want to do personal branding, wasn't going to use AI. Last person to leave, blown away. Once we took them through the process and showed them step by step, they were like, wow, I can't believe it. I was just scared because I was scared of using the software. I was scared of using it. I didn't realize how easy it is. It's just like when I'm writing the text on my phone. Absolutely. And now I see how to use it. There's still me putting out what I am and who I stand for and what I believe in. And that's the point. And that's what people want to read and see anyway.
Yes. Okay. So let's jump into maybe just the client side and specifically around client development, and just sort of practical ideas around kind of use cases, either on marketing, business development, or lawyers. But yeah, let's talk about, okay, it's producing 80%. What is the 80% that I should be putting it in? Effectively. And it's so funny because the white paper that you put out, so many people had so many different ideas about this core thing, right? This is what most people were answering effectively.
And look, there's the very practical stuff. And, I like Richard's stuff around. Nobody wants to write your Chambers and Legal 500 submissions if we're truly honest, but using AI can actually write this stuff as well. And look, there's proprietary tools out there which you can use as a knowledge management system to answer questions, to write your bid responses. So if you have to respond to an RFP, it's going to get you 80, 90% there, because if you've loaded all your previous stuff in there, as long as it's in your firm's firewall, no one else sees that information, it's going to analyze all your data, answer the RFP questions, and it's going to be pretty good, which means your bid professionals and marketing professionals can now work with you and really make it client specific.
Yeah.
So all that's there. But if you're sitting in there and going, well, I'm probably not doing enough sales work, I don't know where to start, I'm not speaking to someone. Yes, I would always advocate you need a BD coach, someone brilliant like myself. And others are available, of course. But actually, you can take a lot of the basic stuff out there as well, So if you ask in AI, what does a good BD and marketing plan for a lawyer look like? It will give you an answer, right? So let's start with that. So then you create yourself a plan, right? How often should I be speaking to the people in my client network? Start with that. Please prompt me to do that. And this is now being built into CRMs, obviously, as you would know.
Right.
So this idea that it sends you. But the next stage of that is, okay, I need to speak to Jenny this Wednesday. I need to send her an email. Right. The next stage is, it doesn't just say that, it gives you a prompt saying, we've looked at what you previously said to Jenny and what she's interested in. We've done all that research. here's what we suggest you send. And it will spit out something a nice script. Great.
Okay.
So now you're editing it. So now you're doing it. And then you're always pushing for those meetings.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing your meetings online, you can get the notes recorded. Most people are quite comfortable with that being captured now.
Yeah.
Most people are okay with it. In fact, Teams does it automatically, even though people send you robots to do it for you, right?
Yes, right.
The next stage is if you want to do some outreach work, you can actually get it to write some pretty good first draft scripts of emails for prospecting. This law is coming to change in this sector. Please write me a sales email based on this. You can give it the link because it analyzes that.
Yeah.
To target this sector around this law change. Boom. And you go, oh, I'm not sending that. Good. Please refine it. Boom. Then you get into that bit where you edit it, and then you would look and analyze it. In the background, you've got all this information and all these dashboards that are created on CRMs and all other systems, which can tell you what clients are interested in that. Really, the best way to think about it is actually you've got the power of Amazon in your pocket. Amazon for years ago, people thought, it's a logistics company. It's all this stuff when it first started. And then people suddenly went, hang on, this is the most powerful data business in the world. And it still is. And it's always listening, always analyzing. And what it spits you out is stuff you want to buy on a regular basis. So powerful. And if you think about how that works and how it analyzes that data, it will provide you. You have all the data coming into your system. AI can now analyze it. You can use that in your CRM systems, whatever knowledge management systems you have in there, to see what your clients are interacting with. It will start to analyze the tone of responses that are coming back to you. You can look at that and see if there's issues, see if the client needs extra work. But all this can help you understand how often you're speaking to someone. Do you need to speak to them again? And hunt for those opportunities. Because in a competitive market, the more often you're speaking to the most important people and the more often you're providing them with value and the things that are important to them and bringing those ideas and the things important to them, and again, you can use it to help you speed up the research. You will still need to put that stuff in there because it's a personal relationship. And you'll still need to say, hey, we've got this, we analyze this, but we think it's important to you for that. And I know that when we last spoke, this is what it is, and this is why it might help you with your career. All those really, really cool things. And then when you're working with the BD people, as a lawyer within your firm, or if you're working with a coach externally, you're now getting into that bit that's really, really important. How do I personalize it? What do I need to say? How do I get the next date or dance, whatever you want to say? How do we progress this meeting to the next stage? What do I need to do differently in these meetings? All the stuff that's really important, all those sales skills that help you close. But what you've actually created is the process and a system to follow, and you can actually get the whole thing to drive you. So that your BD people internally don't become the nags, which having been a BD person, a lot of the time just walking around and asking people to do their actions, it can do that action follow-up for you, and it can provide you with some tools to make it easy. And then if you're still not happy, you can sit down professional and say, look, there's something not right. This email doesn't ring true. What I'm being asked saying in a phone call doesn't quite sit right. What is the issue? What should you be saying? And then we're getting into a really active coaching, and then you're really powerful. But look, big firms can use this, but if you're sitting there, you can actually put a lot of this kind of scripting and power using Outlook and ChatGPT, and you can fire yourself up and start competing and actually build yourself a plan. So you're a sole operator. You can actually use this stuff for free. And I'm going to credit you with the discretion not to put client information into stuff that's available on the World Wide Web. Great. But basic scripts, you can absolutely do it. And look, we've trialed it here, and you can see just to see how it works. And we worked it with some clients and go, look, I would never send that out, but look at it. You can refine this.
Let me jump in because I followed everything. In fact, if you go back, I would go back if you're listening to this and just kind of try to thread this through a little bit, because what Ben has just described is, you have it from the point of you started with personal business development plan for something. That's step one that really sort of defines clarity. Then you moved into almost like prompting and content for purposes of, let's say, just emails and follow-ups within a circumstance. Then you went to client listening, and you sort of described the ability for it to pick up sentiment and understand, and it can absolutely do this. You'd have to you have to look up how it can, basically taking out sensitive client data, but basically you're taking up things and it'll do an analysis for you. Moving even further on the actual voicing, there are software products that basically can now kind of pull this to you and make this dead simple for you in terms of sentiment and all the rest of it. But basically, the bigger point is that you've seen how this can, for you as a solo person, you now have access to each of these steps. It's never going to get you 80. It's never going to get you 100% of the way there. And it's not going to do any of this for you, but it is going to lay the groundwork for each of these things and give you. So let me just, before you jump back in, it's kind of like, I want to cook more for myself, and I'd love to learn how to cook. But here's the reality. Most of the time I get blank, and I know that there's cookbooks out there. I get that. And I get all of this. But do you know what I have somehow been able to do with ChatGPT? I go into the pantry. I look at the ingredients that I have. I take out the ingredients of what's available to me. I prompt it with a circumstance of what I'd like to do. And then what comes out of it typically is some sort of recipe, some sort of something. And this is, in some ways, I think, a lot of what you're talking about, because based on the circumstance that you are at, in some way or function, hopefully you're still with me here, in some way or function, basically you can describe a situation, and in return, it can give you something like a recipe that then you can say, okay, but I don't have white wine vinegar, or I don't have 40 minutes, but then you're there, you're 80% of the way there in terms of a plan. And then, to your point, working with business development people, they can actually do something at the highest degree with something. Okay, I know that was a big sort of example, but you with me on all of that, and hopefully that was a summary of sort of like what we're thinking about.
Yeah, but look, it's the best way to describe it is, if you prompt it the correct way, you have, I'm going to use the sales word, so hopefully I don't lose all the lawyers in here. You've got sales support and an end-to-end process from the plan, through the execution, through client listening, through understanding what's important to your client, so you can actually engage them more and send them more stuff. You've got that sales support function there, right? You still have to do the hard yards, and you might still need some coaching and training and support on the areas you're weaker in. But it's going to be quicker and more efficient. And if you follow it and have it there, it's going to help you the whole way. So it's really, really powerful.
Yes.
It can analyze what your client needs and serve you up a good recipe that you just need to refine based on what you have.
Exactly. This is my point. Yes, exactly. Using that analogy. Let's, where should we take it next? I mean, there's the idea of, I think, getting started, but maybe we can go into, winning work specifically around, we don't need to talk about RFPs, but of course there's an application around RFPs, but do you want to say something about winning work and the idea of, like, how does this, everybody thinks winning work is about relationships, being in the room, having the right champion, all of this, notwithstanding the RFPs and pitching and all of this. Is there an angle here about actually winning work and bringing that to that we're not seeing?
Well, if you can analyze the data of where your wins have come before, you can see where it's going to happen. So you can see the trend, and you can see what prompts have led to it before. So you can follow up with the same kind of emails and same responses. So you can do that data analysis piece. This is where the science drops off and the art kicks in, though. So the winning work piece, if everything in the process has been followed before, it should just be a case of asking more questions and getting the client to articulate what the next steps are, because they will always close on you. If there's not a formal RFP, if there's not that structure, there's not a need for capability statement or information.
Sure. Right.
The pricing options have been provided. What's next? This now comes into the stage where the person has to have a real conversation and build those client relationships and develop it and understand what it is. You can get some prompts on what sorts of questions you ask, but actually, realistically, this is going to be more art and less science.
Mm-hmm.
So the AI will not help you so much in the closing situation. It can
Sure.
give you some ideas of what you should send and some scripts again, but it's not really going to get to that deal making thing. Do you have to be in the room? No. Did you have to ask the right questions in the room? Yes.
Right.
And then how do you follow up those meetings? And that's where AI can help you with the right follow up, because over the years we've seen those that have followed our teaching and our coaching to actually have a proper follow up straight after any client relationship meeting within 24 hours tend to win more work and close more deals, because everyone understands where they're going to, what the next steps are. As long as the next steps are clear on both sides, great. Sometimes the client changes their mind and tells you what the next steps are, but now you know what you're following up on. And so again, back into those follow-ups, yes, you can use AI and stuff and all that stuff to help you at that point, but the process needs to be clear. The questions need to be asked correctly.
Okay. I wanna start wrapping a little bit of this up, and I want to ask you something interesting, turning the lens back on you and your legal life. Of course, you're the founder of a consultancy, BD Ladder. You know, how are you bringing this skill set to the market from the percentage of packaging and bringing this into law firms? Where are you starting? How are you, without giving the Ben Paul secret sauce and all of this, you get it, I mean, it's like, how are you introducing this into the market in the form of services, offering, packaging, coaching, all the rest of it? And what's in there right now? Where is the market in terms of its in terms of its hunger?
So growing and adapting. We have a suite of different services that we offer. Where do we use it most? Absolutely in coaching and training, and we even have training courses around personal branding using ChatGPT, and that will just expand. And as we do more for people, we will coach people how to use it. And if they've got their own proprietary system or their own CRM, we'll have a little look at it and build that into what we do. So I've seen these products, and obviously Nexel, and there are others out there that law firms are using, where it has these prompts and it has these dashboards, and we'll go, that's great, but how do you use it? So we'll build a training program around that. We'll coach around that as well. We'll get the thing up and say, look, there it is. But now what? We spat this out. I'm not sending that. Okay, so this is what we're going to send. So we'll use it in that coaching and training environment there. Absolutely. When we're working with people on their marketing efforts and their marketing teams, we'll use these things, and if need be, help them analyze the data, help them refine what they're doing, get them to understand how far they can take it and how much is required from the business on whatever size that business is. You still need those subject matter experts on what they're going to do. And we can do this confidently because we use it ourselves. Most of the stuff we write ourselves, but it's really, really important where we go to from this. This is a really exciting time, and I'm really glad we went through that BD plan for individual lawyers. Sure. So I've shifted a little bit. This year I've been writing a book, and we're going to write a book very focused on the core offering of what we do. So it'll be very on AI focused. It'll be on relationships. But before we do that, I'm going to write a short book. So my first book will be a short book, and it's going to be around this. It's going to be for all professionals because we do all professional services, but it will be a lot what we touched on there. It'll be applying to legal industry about how you can take AI as an individual and how you can build it as a support function for your business development and how it can be really powerful. And we'll get into the practical details of what you do and some examples in there as well. So that book should come out in the next 2 or 3 months somewhere, I'd imagine on Amazon, since I plugged Amazon in your pocket earlier. But it's on me to write that stuff because we want to give that back. We want that kind of practical step because there's lots of people who just want to go, help, I need help with this. I know I can use it. I know I can be more efficient. I know the people down the hall are using it or on the next office. I need to catch up. So we want to help them accelerate and catch up. So that will be showing a bit of our offering and giving some of the secrets away. But like anything, if people aren't doing business development, coaching and training that supports AI and how you're using AI, then you're not using the right people because it's being used and adapted. It's a little, it's a little bit like saying, we'll come in and train you, but you won't look at the CRM or the data you've got. Well, actually, you have to understand your client and work with them and see what they're doing and try and progress them in the right way.
Yeah, I get it. I have to ask because you teed it up. How much are you going to use AI to write the book?
Very little, actually. It's very
yes,
it's really,
yes.
It's really,
no, I get why. Go ahead and explain it. It makes a lot of sense. Go ahead.
yeah, it's really interesting. So look, we've played with it, and our most successful articles on our website are when I just let my hands go and write from scratch.
Sure.
Get the research done, and we may use AI tools for that, but get it done.
Yeah.
We did have a very successful hybrid one, which is the difference between business development and marketing. So probably about the initial draft was written in AI, and probably about 20% remained. And look, hey, you can go and look it up, and you can probably work out which 20% remained. But the rest of it's me, and that just helped me get over a writer's block.
Yes, right, exactly.
But in terms of going through the process, it's a very clear process. It needs to come out of my head, and we'll write that. Probably at the end, we'll use it to help make sure that there's no curlies and no typos and stuff like that, and check through. But I just feel if people are going to engage with it, they want the real life stories. Will we use it? Yeah, we might use it to actually write examples. So I may give some screenshots of where we actually used it, just as an example so people can see it. But in terms of the actual writing, no, it's going to be, for better or worse, me and my thoughts.
Human made here. Yeah. I think this trends though with the entire conversation today, which is, you're not going to send a relationship building email based on what has been prompted with no matter how good the AI systems and no matter how good you are at prompting. And I'm just full disclaimer, if you are good at prompting, it will be better. I promise you. I mean, everybody who has put in some time to do it will get better results. But at the end of the day, it's not going to, it can't build the relationship. So in that way, however, if you go back to what we just said, it can build a recipe for you that gives you the idea about what's possible cooking. And, it gave me, I could cook Mediterranean, Greek, Chinese, or, a low fat calorie meal. I ended up going Greek because I love Greek food, but, it gives me the sweetest things. And now I know, and who knew I have so much in the pantry.
Never go for the low fat calorie option when there's Greek available. That's if you learn nothing else in this podcast, I definitely adhere to that. And look, what's really interesting, if you want to see why you should never just send an unedited script, probably check your junk folder. And you've probably got, weirdly, someone with a Gmail address probably prompting you digital marketing, and you'll read an unedited AI script, and it'll be the worst sales email you've ever read. And they're usually the ones that people put a LinkedIn to try and show how bad this stuff is. And you don't respond to them, you delete them, and you forgot you even received them because they're not personal. Right. They look like they're written by a machine. There's no interest there, right? So it's not even as good as a low fat calorie meal. It has no interest.
I think, the title of this podcast is going to be how AI can help you with your client relationships. And in a weird way, the answer is sort of, yes, it can, but only in the way that it can help you develop better client relationships with your clients, in this way, by virtue of kind of getting you not out of your own way, but in some ways getting you started, getting you going, and getting what is best about you out onto the page in some sense.
If you're looking for the silver bullet, it's a little bit like when people phone us up and say, "Can you do the sales and client development for us?" And the answer is not really.
Yes, exactly.
Because ultimately, at some point, you need to do it because it's your client. You need to have that relationship. Right. And in the legal world, more than any other, that relationship between the lawyer and their client is so important. And that's why there's more equity in most law firms in the individual relationships than there is in the brand, because it's so powerful. And if you understand that and appreciate that, then you can't ask anyone else to do it or a machine to do it, because it is personal. So it has to be there. So yes, as we said at the start, enabler, not a silver bullet, won't do it for you.
Yeah. All right, I think we're coming to the end. This was nice. I really liked it, and the hook and the line of this is going to be really nice. I can tell already. I'm gonna get ChatGPT to do some ideations on this, but ultimately I'm going to pick the one, and it's going to be something that I come back to. You want to give us some final words? Tell us about the next 6 months. Anything that we should be looking out for? Are you going to be around? Any new content? Definitely, we're going to put the stuff in the show notes with the white paper. That's if you haven't read it. Again, myself and my colleague Lynn, we had the opportunity, but a bunch of really, really great people that in and around the legal industry. Yeah, what's going on with the next 6 months? Anything interesting?
So, as we said, the book. So we aim to get that out in the next, hopefully quicker than 6 months, but that'll be a real focus on what we're doing there. There'll be more webinars coming up. We'll be teaming with more people, more podcasts. You never know, we might go out on the road. We see a lot of interest in different regions, so it'd be nice to find ways to get out there and go and support and see people face to face. But yeah, look, lots more promotion, lots more working with our clients and our core business of what we do. But yeah, real focus on getting that first book out to be followed up next year with the bigger book, which will be the main kind of showpiece for me and the business.
Nice. We love it. We look forward to it. Well, Ben, Paul, we're going to wrap up. Old friend of the Nexel team, and especially This Legal Life, we thank you for being a new guest again.
Yes.
And you were the first guest. 'Tis the season. Check that out. 'Tis the season for BD. No chatbot wrote that one. It wasn't pre-chat GPT. I don't think so. But anyway, it was. I don't think so. I don't think it was. But Ben, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for the time. And thanks everybody else who is listening to this. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, so that we know. And we'll definitely have you back on, Ben, for another episode. Take care. Thank you so much, everybody. All right.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers, everybody. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. And we will talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye, everyone.